Good Monday to you all. Welcome to this special AEW Full Gear Fallout Plus, our breakdown of the Continental Classic here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Yes, I'm Shawn. I'm with my tag team partner, Ashlee. And what a freaking weekend of professional wrestling as we had I consider it one of the best AEW pay-per-views of the year. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, another AEW pay-per-view that I think they kind of knocked it out of the park. They've been on a run this year with the pay-per-views. I think they're tough to beat in that department.
So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to the first match on the pre-show, as this was added after we did our special preview for Full Gear, as Tony Khan announced that Anna Jay would have faced Deonna Purrazzo. And I gotta say, Ashlee, I was kind of surprised that Deonna Purrazzo did not get the victory here. Anna Jay walks away with another victory.
Yeah, they seemingly put Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie together, and they haven't accomplished much since joining forces here.
I thought they were creating a female stable, and I was thinking they were going to do something with Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie. So why not give them somebody else to face besides Anna Jay, somebody you've been pushing for the last month? Somebody who we saw had a competitive match with Mariah May. So I can see why Tony decided to have Anna win this match. But what do you do with Deonna Purrazzo from here?
That's a good question. Especially, like I said, like we've just seemingly started this stuff with Taya Valkyrie, and losing to Anna Jay is not a great start.
Exactly. It's not the best start for this faction. Normally, if you want to start a heel faction, you give them a few wins over some credible opponents. And yes, Anna Jay is a very credible AEW female talent. But when she gets a win over Deonna, it doesn't do any favors for Deonna and Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah, and especially kind of with Anna's newfound, like upgrades here with her excursion to stardom and coming back and having gotten so much better. I don't think taking the loss here would have hurt her, especially after beating Mariah May a couple of weeks ago, even though she lost the rubber match.
Ashlee, you could have had Taya Valkyrie in this match, interfering, costing Anna Jay this match, giving the victory to Deonna Purrazzo, and you spin Anna Jay off of a feud with Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Could have led to Anna Jay maybe finding some help or something, maybe getting like a little bit of a feud going between them. It'd be nice to see Deonna Purrazzo back on regular TV.
Agreed. She is one of the most underutilized female talents in AEW wrestling today. So we'll move on to the second match on the pre-show, as this was added after our preview special. It's a four-way, as we had Buddy Matthews versus Beast Mortos versus Dante Martin versus Commander, and a fine four-way match. Buddy Murphy gets the victory here over Dante Martin. Actually, I would have had somebody else take the fall here. I would have had Commander take the fall, because I thought we were trying to push Top Flight just a little bit. I was happy to see Buddy Matthews get some victory here.
It was nice to see him. I feel like Buddy Matthews is kind of the least known member of the House of Black, solely because he doesn't really cut promos and he rarely gets these singles opportunities.
Agreed. It's a very rare occasion for a Buddy Matthews singles outing here. And later on in the card, you had the Kings of the Black Throne going for the AEW tag team titles. So we at least got one win from the House of Black tonight so far. So let's move on to what was the main event of 0 Hour. And I was surprised this was the main event going into it. It's Babe Boom AJ versus QT Marshall. But Ashlee, this match was so freaking good. It was more good than it should possibly ever have been.
I agree. I think you and I have both always been fans of QT Marshall. I don't think that's like an unfair statement. I think we've always both appreciated his heel work and stuff like that. And I think the position he's in has always worked for me. He's very much as TikTok guys could throw a decent punch.
Well, the finish came with Big Justice giving QT Marshall a spear. Then Big Boom hit a powerbomb for the pin, and the crowd went wild into the pay-per-view. So what do we know anymore about professional wrestling? This was
They were going in nuts for those kids.
Hey, you know what? When that played out, they should have them back again, maybe at World's End for another run with QT Marshall and see what they could do a little bit differently.
Genuinely, I mean, they did nothing but good press for AEW. They came in, they were excited, put on a good match, like you said. I mean, what kind of more can you ask?
Exactly, actually. There's not more you can ask for out of a match of this caliber. Let's move on to our first match on the actual pay-per-view. And I was kind of surprised that we went to the tag team title match so early in the card. But it's Private Party retained their titles as we saw the start of the breakup of the Acclaim. And this New Jersey crowd had no love for one Max Caster.
No, they did not. We saw some major seeds for the split of the Acclaimed here, as it's been sort of hinted at. But Max Caster spurred on the crowd to start those F Max Caster chants.
You know, that crowd was so hot. I was almost thinking they should go ahead and pull the trigger on the turn and have Max just walk away from Anthony Bowens there towards the end of the match. And that's how he basically turns heel on Billy Gunn and Anthony Bowens.
Surprised it didn't happen. I thought this would be the spot they did it. I feel like it's going to be coming soon. I don't feel like Bowens is going to take well to the end of what happened there during this final Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I think Anthony Bowens wants to go, hey, Matt, so what's up with this? First, the rap. Second, the toss of the mic. Then this, like, the whole totally turn his back, not accepting the first tag in the match. And I'm going like, yeah, I would be one piss off Anthony Bowens.
Yeah, we even kind of saw like I feel like those kind of things like signaled something though. Where we saw like a change of gear for Max Caster. He had almost like a Young Bucks-esque type of pants on.
Well, I got a feeling that we're going to see a lot more of this play out on the episode of Dynamite coming out right before Thanksgiving this week. So let's move on to the second match on the card. And I was surprised this was the second match. It's MJF versus Roderick Strong. MJF wins by submission, and we can all agree now that Adam Cole is the worst best friend in the world.
Yeah, he didn't make it down there in time to help Roddy not get his hand broken. Well, injured. But Kyle O'Reilly kind of being the moral compass here. I like where this is going, and
I think we're spinning this off into Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. And I don't know what we do with MJF at the moment. Maybe we circle back around and have Roddy have another match with MJF. But this seems to be splitting these MJF and Adam Cole off into two different directions.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. I like Kyle O'Reilly like kind of stepping up to Adam Cole and trying to make him realize his part in all of that, what's happening here.
Exactly. It feels like Kyle O'Reilly's going to Adam Cole like, your obsession about MJF is causing us all harm, and look what you just let happen to your best friend Roderick Strong.
Yeah, and I'll be sad if Roddy's going to be out for a while because I love Roddy.
Who doesn't like the Messiah of the Backbreaker? I mean, Roderick Strong is one of the best freaking wrestlers in the world. So let's move on to the third match on the main card. And this, to me, is the best match on the evening, as we have the TBS Championship. It's Mercedes Moné defeating Kris Statlander in a hell of a match. And for a couple minutes there, I was thinking Kris Statlander was going to have the victory.
These two killed it. I loved this match. There's one other match that we're going to talk about my match of the night in terms of it blew expectations for it.
Well, I got to say, Mercedes Moné has proven all the haters wrong, because this was her best performance in the AEW ring. And you know what? Maybe it took 6 months to get her back up to speed, and this one was balls to the wall.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone says like 6 months. That's still not a long time in the grand scheme of things, and you're getting acclimated to a whole new system, a whole new way of doing things. along with changing, bits of your character and stuff you're doing in the ring, I this was just a great performance. Like you said, it's kind of like the call, but man, Kris Statlander opponent for her, and I need them to run this back as soon as possible.
Yes, I'd like to see this play out again at World's End, but I also want to see Camille break away from Mercedes Moné, and I still feel like she's the one who's going to end up with the TBS title, as she's going to defeat Mercedes Moné sometime in 2025 for that TBS championship.
Yeah, we didn't even mention the stuff that happened before the show when Mercedes Moné basically rubbed Camille's nose in it, essentially, and made her stay in the back, telling her she essentially doesn't need her. But I did it. Like she just proved like she is that good.
True. I gotta say, can't wait for the next chapter in the story. So let's go on to the next match on this card. And this one, I felt like I should tweet you afterwards to see how you felt, as we had Jay White versus Heyman Adam Page. It was a fine professional wrestling match, and the Switchblade hit the Blade Runner and get the victory. And we get to see maybe the crowd try and turn Heyman back face.
I think as much as aid to turn Hangman heel, the fans are not. They're not buying into this. I think some fans know that he was a little bit justified, and we even saw it even against this kind of new babyface Jay White. Hangman still had a lot of support from the crowd.
Very true. He feels like Swerve Strickland from like earlier this year. Like they wanted to have Swerve be a heel. The fans turned him basically babyface, and they ran with it. I got a feeling once we get to the end of the show, maybe AEW is going to do the same thing with Hangman Adam Page.
I hope so. It's tough being a Hangman fan.
I know, it's kind of hard to be a Heyman Adam Page fan right now. Let's go on to the next match, as it's Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay in a hell of a match. It's right up there with Mercedes Moné versus Kris Statlander to me in matches of the night. And Kyle Fletcher gets the victory after using a turnbuckle brainbuster. And I gotta say, this match elevated Kyle Fletcher, no pun intended, to, I say, almost semi-main event status.
Again, another Will Ospreay match, another potential match of the year candidate. This is the other match I was talking about. Again, I agree. Proving to everybody he does sell. Imagine that. And I loved everything about this. Kyle Fletcher, like you said, has been elevated to a position where, with him being in the C2 this year, I could see him being in a main event status after.
I agree with you, Ashley. I feel like Kyle Fletcher will be somebody who can do a lot of damage in the C2. Later on in the show, we're going to break down the C2 tournament for you guys. Let's go on to the next match, as it's the TNT Championship match. And yes, Kimmy Suckle, your guy did do it, as we have Daniel Garcia defeat Jack Perry by submission to gain the title. And this was, yet again, another great match. This card had hardly any bad matches on it.
Yeah, no, and this one made me so happy. I was pulling for Garcia so hard for with Jack Perry and John, even after this. But I'm very happy that with all of the kind of doom and gloom that the Death Riders are bringing upon AEW.
Actually, it was one of the bright spots of the night for the babyfaces. A lot of heels did win on the night, and the Death Riders did do a lot of damage in the main event, that we'll get to it. But I feel like Daniel Garcia is going to be one of the babyfaces they push forward to fight against the Death Riders.
Yeah, and I think he's the perfect choice for it too. Definitely a fan favorite, this TNT Championship.
Now, my interesting question is, what do you do with Jack Perry after this loss to Daniel Garcia? Because the Young Bucks are still away. I don't think we're going to see the Young Bucks until we get to the dual shows in Japan. Does Jack Perry just disappear from TV for a while?
I don't think so. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know if he's going to strike out on his own. Okada's going to have his hands full with the C2 over the next few months. Like you said, the Young Bucks working from home until they show up in Japan in a couple of months. I'm not sure where it leaves Perry. I don't see like a rematch right off the bat. So I am curious to see where he ends up.
I am as well. We'll have to see where Jet Perry turns up on this week's episode of Dynamite. So let's move on to a match they add at almost the 11th hour. And honestly, this card really didn't need this match, but it was a fine match. It's Katesha versus Ricochet for the international title.
Yeah, this was weird. It was like a match that I felt like you could have announced 2 weeks ago was going to be on the card. And I would have been like, yeah, this makes sense. And they didn't until, like you said, like an hour, like whatever the day of the pay-per-view, they made it official. Konosuke Takeshita, man, so good.
You know, Takeshita is making a strong case for male professional wrestler of 2024. We're going to have to sit down and have a good debate about that in a couple of weeks when we head out to the award show.
Yeah, listen, I've already been thinking about this, and I have like 6 wrestlers of the year, all for different reasons.
It's going to be a very tight race here on our best of 2024. So just get ready to look forward to that. Now we'll move on to the semi-main event as we had Bobby Lashley versus Rose Strowman. And I got to say, this was exactly what this match needed to be. Was a beat down of Swerve Strickland and showing Bobby Lashley as a credible threat in the AEW landscape. And that hurt lock, let me tell you, once Bobby Lashley locks the hurt lock on you, it's good night.
Yeah. Swerve kind of taking another big loss and showing he's not as bulletproof as seeming before. Bobby Lashley looks great. We haven't seen him in a little bit. He looked fantastic. Still a beast. Throws the hurt lock on Prince Nana as well and puts him out as well.
I think what we can do here is say that Swerve kind of got caught up in his own confidence in his own skill, and he just ran into somebody who was bigger, badder than he was on that day.
Yeah, and plus, let's not forget, even though it was a while ago, Swerve's still coming up one of the most violent matches we've seen in AEW. Can't take that for granted.
Very true. I feel like this is just the start of the story with the Hurt Syndicate versus Swerve Strickland. I feel like we're going to see this play out through the beginning of 2025.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and I'm ready to see who joins up with MVP and the.
I am too, Ashley, because I was thinking that maybe we find out who the next member was at the pay-per-view. I thought we were going to see somebody debut, and there's no debuts on this card.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting maybe a return, maybe a debut, but just straight who we have on the roster right now. It's kind of nice, actually.
True, very true, because we have a very deep roster here in AEW. And the main event, it had a lot of bells and whistles. It started out being one very violent beatdown of Orange Cassidy. And Orange had to reach down to a new level. And I kind of like the fact that he was more aggressive here. And he was the one who got the briefcase and blasted Jon Moxley with the briefcase. And I thought that was the moment they were going to change the title over to Orange. No. I was wrong. Moxley gets the victory here. But afterwards,
so hard on that.
But afterwards, we saw a lot of things happen. We had Christian Cage come down with his contract, about ready to cash in on it. We saw Heyman Adam Page make a return and blast Jon Moxley with a steel chair.
I love this match. I've already professed my love, totally aggressive side of him. And the side that he said he didn't want to bring out, but he had to. Did what he could. Just too much interference, too much Death Rider shenanigans going on. After the match, like you said, we Cassidy for a while, and then they poured what looked like a window cleaner, some sort of cleaning fluid on his face and in his mouth.
Yes, they said it was some kind of disinfectant for the ring, and I was going like, dude, that had to suck. Yeah, because I was thinking it was some kind of like disinfectant, something that would burn him, and it was looking like it was burning him. We also saw Jay White come down right after Christian Cage thought about using that contract, hit his Blade Runner on Christian Cage, continuing their little feud, and at the end of it,
I'm looking a little too deep into things, but I'm hoping that there's some like. So, like you said, like after the match, Orange Cassidy gets beat up and gets thrown out. Hangman Adam Page comes out first, which is kind of like weird because Hangman's been such a bad guy. Because like I remember thinking it last night, why is he coming out to help Orange Cassidy? And then I was like, no, oh no, Christian, he's going to, he's going to cash in. That's what, his face. First of all, he looked a little scared of Hangman. He looked a little surprised to see him there.
Exactly.
But I do like this, like almost like subliminal subtext of Hangman being the one to come save AEW from Moxley.
Yeah, I kind of like the story too there, as maybe Hangman is the one that actually does it. But we also see at the end, as the Death Riders are retreating, they think they're going to get in their truck, and we see a car hit their truck, and the car is driven by Darby Allin.
I honestly loved that car came speeding in at like 75 miles an hour, smashes into another car. It's black spray painted with like skulls all over it. And Excalibur is like, who is this? Who else is it going to be? Excalibur?
I don't know. I think it's going to be Darby Allin. I think there's a lot of signs here.
Yeah, and that I'm hoping that there was some sort of cut, and that's why it was shot the way it was, because I was a little scared for Darby.
I was too, and I felt like after he came out of the car, he seemed a little like drunk, a little like maybe he got his bell wrong because he was having a hard time climbing up onto the truck. So we'll have to wait to see how he turns out to be once we find out some more news about Darby. But overall, Ashlee, how will you rate Full Gear 2024?
I think I would give it about like a 7.5 out of 10.
So right after the show, I went to our Twitter account and I gave our listeners 4 options. I did great, good, average, or bad. And like you, a lot of people, the majority of our listeners agree with you and said it was a good show. Not a great show, but it was a good show. I personally feel like it was a good show. I didn't feel like I wasted any time watching this show. And my only complaint is it was a little long. I literally fell asleep during a couple of matches and had to rewatch them this morning before we did a recording. But besides that,
the perpetual AEW pay-per-view complaint.
Exactly. I mean, the one good thing about this one, Ashlee, it was a Saturday instead of a Sunday.
Yes, finally. I agree. And there wasn't like, I hate to say that I don't think like Anna Jay versus Yana Purrazzo shouldn't be on the card, but like you kind of just, that's one you literally just threw on there at the last minute. That was something you could have put on a Dynamite or a Collision or something and we would have been fine.
See, that's how I felt. See, that's
a lot of story progressions, and I like that.
Yeah. See, that's how I felt about the international title match with Katisha and Ricochet. I felt like that could have been saved for like this week's Dynamite and just had it there. I was like, why are we offering this match up? A probably dream match, 11-hour add to the show right before the show hits. And it's like, oh yeah, we forgot about this one, but Katisha and Ricochet. We're adding it to the card.
Right. A week or two ago, we would have all been like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But without telling us, hey, it's going to be on the show, you could have just saved it, like you said, for maybe one of the bigger Dynamites coming up. You're going to have a tough schedule coming up with the holidays and everything and sports.
You know, actually, you're right. I feel like they could have saved that one to Winter is Coming, that special AEW Dynamite episode, and that could have been the main event. Actually, what we're looking forward to the most is the return of the Continental Classic over the holidays. And allow me to introduce you to the gold bracket here. In the gold bracket, we have Darby Allin, Claudio Castagnoli, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Brody King, and Juice Robinson. Guns up.
Very excited for Juice in there.
Me too. I'm very excited for Juice Robinson to have this opportunity. Who do you feel are the favorites in the Golden League?
I feel like it's going to be the top dog, Okada. But Kyle Fletcher, as we've discussed, putting himself in that conversation.
Well, Kyle Fletcher is over in the Blue League. So out of Darby Allin, Claudio Castagnoli, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Brody King, and Juice Robinson, who are you thinking will be the last man standing in the Gold League?
I'd say Claudio is a very scary bet, especially with this newfound anger that he has. I know Darby thinks he's indestructible, but he might find some limitations coming up in this tournament.
I got a sneaky feeling that Ricochet might be a dark horse in this league, and he may be the one that comes out of this league to face whoever we have out of the Blue League. I feel like Darby Allin's going to be tied up in the world title scene, so I don't think Darby will be the person coming out of gold. I mean, he'll have a good showing, but I mean, Claudio to me is the reason he's in this as we continue the Death Rider story with Darby Allin and the AEW Originals. Now, we'll move over to the Blue League. And in the Blue League, we have Okada, Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, Mark Briscoe, Shelton freaking Benjamin, and the Beast Mortos. So, Ashlee, out of those gentlemen, besides Okada, who would be somebody you would be favoring in this bracket?
Well, as I said earlier, Kyle Fletcher putting himself in that conversation for a top dog, but Shelton Benjamin also being in there.
Ashlee, you stole my person. I feel like
I wouldn't be surprised to see him pick up a bunch of.
Actually, I feel the same way. I feel like Shelton Benjamin is going to be the dark horse in the Blue League, and if we could get Ricochet versus Shelton Benjamin as the final in this sucker, I feel like we'll all be happy.
I like this lineup. There's a couple of faces we had in the C2 last year, a bunch of new faces. I would say I wish I'd been Pac representing the Death Riders this year in there, but the story has been more with Claudio, so I get that. I think Wheeler would have been an interesting choice to see Moxley react to Yuta's wins and losses throughout the tournament as well.
Yeah, because I feel like Jon Moxley would motivate him in very interesting ways if he didn't live up to Jon Moxley's high standards.
Very high standards.
But this is a very stacked Continental Classic. I feel like last year when they had the first one going, they were getting their legs underneath them. They were trying to find out the roster they can play with. This one feels like a American version of the G1 tournament. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I'm very happy that we're going to get Ospreay in these. I feel like I will admit there are some names that I wish they were in the same league, because like I'm sad that some of these guys are not in the same league to get some of these matchups.
True. I mean, there's a possibility we end up with Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay in the final here, but that's the only way we get Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay too.
Honestly, I know I want something like Beast Mortos versus Brody King. Come on, give me that.
I know that's a good reason to have these two guys in the same league. That would have been one hell of a house fight. And the only way we could get it is just like if it was Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. We would have to get to the finals, and I'm pretty sure that none of us think that Brody King and Beast Mortos are making it to the final. So we'll have to wait to see if Tony tosses that on a random collision.
And then I just wanted to say, it'll be just interesting to see where Okada comes into all of this. The Buck's gone now. Jack Perry titleless. Okada's been gone for the past couple of weeks, out dealing with family stuff. So it'll be interesting to see just what his thought of this whole landscape is when he comes back.
Very true, Ashlee. And he's the last of the elite to have a title. So does he not make it through the tournament and every member of the elite loses the title before the end of 2024?
We could see that. It's definitely a possibility. Okada's got some stiff competition in this tournament.
Well, he did not draw a favorable draw here with this league. I feel like actually either one would have been kind of hard, but I feel like this blue one's is a bit harder than the gold, especially for Okada, because you're looking at him having to go against Garcia, him going against Shelton Benjamin, Kyle Fletcher. Mark Briscoe. We're not even talking about Mark
And
Briscoe.
honestly,
Mark Briscoe's
Okada
in this.
versus Shelton Benjamin. Sign me up.
Yes, please. Can that not be the first match? Can we not just have that this Wednesday on Dynamite? Okada versus Shelton Benjamin in the main event. Let's just do that. So that has been your AEW Full Gear Fall and Continental Classic preview here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Ashlee, where can we find you on the super information superhighway?
So I'm mostly now on Blue Sky, and that is just at groovyash.bsky.social. But I'm also still posting on Twitter, and that is at groovy_ash_.
And you can always follow this show on Twitter at Radio Free PW. You can also go to our website, www.radiofreeprowrestling.com, to catch up on previous episodes. And if you have enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe on our YouTube channel. And until we see you next time on Radio Free Professional Wrestling, remember, this is our groovy and stunning era. Guns up.